Hello everybody, I'm back for another vlog today. And if you were following me like, I don't know, a couple of weeks, maybe like a month or so back on social media, you may have seen that I made some kind of like very subdued announcement that I was going to be taking a little bit of a break from social media for an undecided amount of time. I also kind of briefly mentioned that this was one of the strategies that I was putting into place to help with my insomnia. And if you haven't watched my insomnia video, I talk a little bit more about that and the outcome in that video. So definitely check that out. But here on Abby's Kitchen on the channel, you know, we talk so much all the time about the importance of having a healthy relationship with food. And while this has been going really well for me personally in my own personal life, I did find that I was having and finding a little bit of a disconnect at managing my own relationship with other aspects of my life, mainly technology, social media, and ultimately my work. So today I wanted to share why I decided to delete my social media apps and also talk a little bit about what I learned from this experience. And I don't know, maybe give you guys some inspiration for some New Year's resolutions that don't involve dieting. Okay, so feel a little bit vulnerable, but I think it's important to talk about these things. Well, 2019 has been a difficult year for me. I know I talked about that in my insomnia video, but yeah, it's not been easy. And the fact that I have not been sleeping well and I've been dealing with the insomnia since like April has totally just perpetuated every tiny little problem that I've encountered this year. Now, none of those stresses per se have been directly because of social media, but I've always struggled with kind of high functioning anxiety, and there is a strong evidence link between social media use and, you know, feelings of depression and social isolation. So I do think that sometimes social media has kind of just like pushed me over the edge. And then, you know, a few months ago, I think it's safe to say that I like totally just burned out. You know, I hear all the time from like friends and family about how put together I look. But I really want to be transparent that sometimes like that could not be farther from the truth. That is just not reality, folks. And, you know, my job while working in the media and blogging and YouTubing and making videos is like so much fun. I love my job and I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I get to put these skills and my passion to use. It is really f***ing hard to be in the public eye all the time, like really hard. So my job obviously is and always has been so intimately tied to social media. Like I'm never off the grid, right? Like I never get a holiday. I never just get to punch out at the end of the day or like tune everything out. And while a lot of you guys get to use Instagram or YouTube for like entertainment, it is intimately tied up in my own work and my own like experience of success. But like just being online on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube all day long and like, you know, feeling like you gotta respond to comments constantly and always be checking up on things. I do love it, but it is so mentally exhausting some days. Some days when you're already tired and you're already down, it's a lot. You know, there's just so much pressure on so-called influencers to always be creating more content and better content and constantly responding immediately, as if we can work all hours of the day. It doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m, it warrants a response. And we can't slow down, or else there's this fear that we will just become obsolete. And no, this actually has very little to do with trolls, for those of you who are wondering. I actually have a pretty level head about trolls, and some days when I'm feeling really good, like I almost see it as a bit of a compliment that somebody would spend, you know, hours or days or like weeks out of their time halfway around the world thinking and talking about me. So that doesn't really bother me all that much. So while I totally get it, and I hear from influencers all the time how, you know, emotionally exhausting and devastating it can be to have to deal with the public scrutiny, at least for me, you know, when I'm thinking with a level head and not my insomnia thoughts at 3 a.m, the trolls really don't usually bother me all that much. What I am struggling with, however, is learning how to just be enough. You know, how can I learn to just do what I can today, put it away until tomorrow, and not let my otherwise like amazing life be overshadowed by my overwhelming drive to just keep producing and more and making more and working harder. So honestly, I was just feeling like I needed to really get my sleep under control, get my general anxiety under control, and find a better balance as my family and my business grows. You know, I really would love for my son to have a sibling one day, but I knew that that was just never going to happen if I didn't prioritize my well-being and, like getting my sleep under control so that I wasn't just gonna end up burning out and then like crying all day. Like, it's just not productive. So as this like brave attempt at self-care, I decided to delete my social media apps on my phone, kind of as a bit of an experiment to see what would happen, but also as a way to just give myself a little bit of like psychological rest. I know that seems like so easy and also kind of like so silly even to be talking about or thinking about, but let's be honest with ourselves. Like, most millennials are completely addicted to their phones and their social media apps. Not to mention, I like depend on these things for my work as well. It's not just entertainment to me. So honestly, it was like a really hard, big pill to try to swallow. So let's talk about what happened. So for the first like week or so, I found myself constantly like picking up my phone, checking for notifications, like swiping up to see what was going to be able to give me a little bit of a dopamine hit. And when there wasn't anything there, because all those social media apps were gone and like emails kind of boring, it's just work would be coming my way, which is never fun. I felt this like gaping hole, which was really an interesting realization for me. So out of like boredom, I guess, and desperation for something on my phone, I ended up downloading like a bunch of crossword apps and little games to play, just something to like keep my mind and hands and stuff busy, which is weird. I ended up looking at a lot of photos, like scrolling through photos, making dinner reservations or like looking at dinner reservations for date nights I just like don't have time for, don't have a babysitter for. What else was I doing? Oh, I was like going on like shopping stores, like online shopping stores and like Amazon. Thankfully I didn't buy too much. I was worried about that. But yeah, it is amazing what a habit it is for us to constantly be holding and looking at our phone. And this little experiment here really proved that to me. So after 7 days or so, I found the urge to like pick up my phone and do something random definitely had decreased. I still occasionally would like text somebody totally randomly, but it was definitely not as strong a drive as what I was experiencing in those first few days. That was surprising to me, but what was more surprising and beneficial was some of the outcomes that I experienced as a result of going through this experiment. So first of all, I think I became a much better mom. Now, without the distraction of like my notifications going off or even just like the drive to pick up my phone and look at it all the time, I felt like I was able to bond so much more with my little 20-month-old. Honestly, I could talk a lot more about this in another video if you're interested, but I would say that being a working mom has a lot of emotional ups and downs. But you know, sometimes I just feel like I'm the lowest peg on the hierarchy of my son's preferences, and dada and tita and grandparents are above me, and I get relegated to all the not so fun tasks like, you know, feeding broccoli and brushing teeth and pumping breast milk around the clock and making appointments and doctor's appointments and play dates and all that stuff. Everybody else just gets to have fun. But without my phone there, I found that the time that I did spend with my son became so much more intimate. We played more, and there wasn't that kind of struggle and fight constantly over kind of grabbing my phone. Anyone that's a parent right now who has a phone knows how obsessed they are with these little screens. But yeah, as my husband kind of pointed out the other day, he's developed a little bit of a mummy-itis situation since my little experiment. And last night we put him to bed, and like all he was saying was like this sweet little voice, "Mama, mama, And it was so cute. And I'm sure one day hearing mommy, 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 mommy all day is going to be really, really annoying. But like, I almost cried. I was just so happy to hear it in that moment. And there were other like relationship benefits as well. You know, I think I've been like way nicer to my husband. That was one. Also, I've made a lot better connections with my friends. Like I've been texting them or calling them, not just like my Instagram friends that you just kind of know, but I've actually been making a lot more real plans with the people I care about. And it's been so amazingly fulfilling. I've also been way more productive. You know, I don't think we realize how much time we waste just like mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, not looking at anything really at all. But when I checked my like screen time on my phone, it said my screen time that week compared to the week before I did the experiment was down by 75%. That's insane. That is hours of one's life that you could be investing in work. And when, you know, ultimately time is money when you're an entrepreneur, that is really valuable stuff. I mean, I would way rather spend all that extra time with my family, of course, but just to think about it that way, kind of like as a transaction, was really eye-opening to me. Now, this is the miraculous thing. I don't know why, and I don't know how, but just not feeling so plugged in really did help me get a better sleep. I went from maybe getting like 2 good nights of sleep a week to going to like 5, and from just that one change alone, it was that powerful. Honestly, I would never have let myself, you know, look at my phone past 7 p.m. because of the screen time rules and all that stuff. But just not having those social media apps operating in the background, it just didn't leave me so hyperstimulated by the time I was trying to wind down and go to sleep. And I wasn't constantly worrying about what was going on or what I was missing out on. It was life-changing. Okay, so how am I balancing social media in my own life right now? Well, like I said, this was ultimately an experiment. And while I totally appreciate that a lot of people go and have these social media detoxes and they realize like how much they hate social media, I actually realized that ultimately I still really like it. I love the like storytelling aspect of it, and I also really love the genuine interactions with all of you. But I also knew that I really did need to set some boundaries. So after 2 weeks without any social media on my phone, I decided I need to set some, you know, a little bit of a curfew with my social media usage. I ended up downloading like a dozen different apps, all promising to kind of help one control their social media addiction. But unfortunately, like none of them did what I wanted them to do, which was ultimately to kind of kick me out and prevent me from getting into social media after a certain time of the day. I tried so many different ones. If there's one out there that does this, please let me know. But basically what I ended up doing instead was I set an alarm on my phone for 5 p.m. And when that alarm went off, I would delete the social media apps from my phone. And then in the morning, I could re-add them and reuse them. But after 5 p.m., I had to be off the social media grid. I did not want to be looking. I didn't want to be thinking about it. It was just for working hours. So I did this religiously for a few days. And then kind of like the novelty wore off. And the next morning, I re-downloaded the apps. They downloaded to the last screen on all of my, you know, on my iPhone. So it must have been like screen 6 or 7 because I've got a lot of apps. And I found that, you know, they just were not so in my face as they had been on the front page, on the first page. So I just ended up using them a lot less. Like my inclination when I opened up my phone was not automatically to push Instagram because it wasn't even there anymore. It might be my email, it might be text, it might be music. In fact, music it is a lot, but it wasn't social media anymore. I also so much enjoyed that bonding that I had with my son during the experiment. So I'm really just naturally putting my phone down a lot more after 5 p.m. Except for like when I order Uber Eats, I guess, but I'm really trying not to carry it around with me as we do bedtime routine and bath time and all that kind of stuff. It's not a priority to always be in my hand anymore. So despite a lot of the challenges that working full-time and social media brings, I'm really making an effort to try to live more in the moment and ultimately to focus on my mental and emotional well-being as we move forward into 2020. I really don't want to burn out again. Honestly, I've got so many big, exciting personal and professional goals for 2020, and I really need to just devote all of my positive energy towards meeting them. So I want to say thank you all for all of your amazing supportive words. When I kind of went off the grid, I did read all of your DMs. I got them sent to me. I read them. They really helped me keep going. So I really hope that this video has been a bit of an inspiration for helping you to foster a healthier relationship with technology as you move forward into 2020. So everyone, I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on quitting social media or doing a social media detox, so to speak? I would love to hear if this is something you've done before. How did it feel? Did it work for you? Did you feel refreshed afterwards? Also, what are you guys thinking about doing for your New Year's resolutions that doesn't involve dieting? I'd love to hear some ideas for that as well. So if you like this video, be sure to give it the thumbs up. Leave me a comment below. I want to hear from all of you. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Happy New Year. Bye.